Hey, Zach here with a few more announcements. As we mentioned last week, the story has taken an unexpected turn, so we decided to take a break from our usual release schedule to give us more time to account for the changes. So, what you're about to hear instead is some of our Patreon content. After each episode, we record what we call the Downtime, where we react to the session we just played. Obviously, with Ryu's death, this was a pretty long downtime, so we decided to expand upon it and talk about some other character deaths from our past campaigns and make a bonus episode. Normally, that kind of discussion is something we would talk about in another monthly show of ours that we call the Metacast. So, if you enjoy this type of content, please consider becoming a valued patron because it really helps out the show and enables us to keep producing and improving our content. Also, we would just like to take a moment to thank everyone for their support and engagement this far. We put a lot of effort into this, and all of the posts, comments, ratings, reviews, engagement, and recommendations really motivate us to keep going. We see all of it and are always excited to hear from the community. Lastly, we know the party has been separated for a while, and you're probably just as eager to see them reunited as we are. With some of the unexpected events in the story, they've been apart longer than we expected, but they should be together soon, pending any catastrophic dice rolls, of course. We'll do our best to avoid long stretches like this in the future, but felt for this arc it allowed Digsby's crew to divide and conquer objectives and made for some interesting narratives. So we hope you've enjoyed that as well. Oh, and Adam's mic still wasn't plugged in at this point, so sorry about the quality. Alright, that's enough announcements. Downtime starting now.
Immortals and portals. Immortals and portals. Immortals and portals. Immortals and portals.
Hello, and welcome to the Downtime edition of Mortals and Portals, where we react to the most recent episode, which is episode 25, in which... Man, okay, I forget. So basically, yeah, Dax fought this crazy beast. That I almost forgot that happened at this point.
Felt like an episode or two ago.
Yeah, Waltz assumed command of the Drake Knights and seemed to go on his way to talk to Yeldir, and Ryu saved Jules, killed Desmar, and pretty much killed himself. So, sacrificed himself to take him out. So, yeah.
Well, what should we start with, fellas?
I said we go.
Let's just, it's fresh.
Front.
Let's just talk with, let's just start. Let's just do Jules and Ryu. So, I guess, Ryan, do you want to talk first?
Yeah, we can talk about, why, everything played out the way it did. So Zach and I we were talking before the episode, and we were trying to decide, I was trying to decide what I wanted to do in this situation. And there was the straightforward, just go down with Smith to pick up Jules scenario. That was the straightforward, potentially safe bet scenario. But there were also all these other factors of is Desmar just going to boost to us again? Is his breath weapon ready to go and we're just going to get blasted? And then there was also this aspect of if we can just get Smith and everybody deeper into Pagos, the idea that maybe Desmar wouldn't like Pagos wouldn't last long and we'd be able to just get out of there sort of thing. So I was viewing it as a scenario of where if we could just keep Desmar distracted enough so that Smith can safely get Jules, I find a way back to Jules either by Desmar chasing after and I jump on, and then Desmar eventually, F's off because it's Pagos, or I do damage to him somehow or whatever it is, that would just happen. And that to me was also just the opportunity for a more cinematic moment and just cooler things to happen if they went that route. But obviously there were so many things that had to go right in order for that to happen.
Sure.
I would say real quick too that I do feel beyond just it being cinematic, it does feel more like how Ryu would think as well.
And so Zach, we were saying we realize all these actions are risky and it could either go very poorly or very well. But, we've got these 2 hero points that I can use, and what's that worst that could happen, And lo and behold, everything goes wrong to the worst possible things that could happen, nat ones and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had a player roll so consistently bad, right. Especially in such a critical moment.
Right.
So I guess going back, and you and I were texting about this, and I don't know if you could sense what my my idea was, and like because yours was definitely more on par with Ryu, and then mine I'm like I also just definitely don't want like Jules to die, and I don't want you to die either. And my mindset was more like maybe stay on Smith because I thought the pistol was your key because like you said it's probably hard for Desmar to be in Pagos. If you hit him with a nasty pistol shot, he might just, call it quits. You don't even know what the effect of this pistol was. So it could have done something super advantageous. So I thought maybe that's one approach. And we talked about like what Ryu knows about the pistol and if he could even get it to work. And we're like, well, yeah, he knows he has a pistol. He was there and Dudas described it. And then you also have used like crossbows in your life. So you could probably figure out how to yank a trigger and Jules loaded it. So that was one approach.
We also talked about like knowing the difference between the flare gun versus the pistol. If I was going to be able to like find both of those and know which is which.
Yeah, and but then like obviously you had valid points of like, well, if you could just get on Desmar and like make him angry and buy Smith time to get Jules safely, and then maybe try and get back on him. Like there was that as well, but obviously that depended on you even getting on Desmar, and then from there it's like, are you to get back to Smith? You either need to like kill Desmar or like find a way to get back on him without dragging Desmar to Smith. So it was just a very like risky situation, but it could also pay off as well. But I do think it was true to Ryu to give it a shot.
Yeah, and ultimately my plan was to like meld in those things that you were kind of talking about too, and like eventually get to the gun and try and fire that off if I could. But it was still that initial like need to make sure that Smith can get Jules safely sort of thing without Desmar just immediately coming after us again.
Yeah,
right
and like obviously Ryu can't see, so he can't really like find the pistol. So I always knew I was going to do something where it sort of like thumps you in the head out of like luck.
Sure.
But I envisioned it more being like when you're still on Smith, like who's hovering around where Jules is falling, and like Jules's pistol would maybe be falling around the same speed as Jules and kind of be in his general area. So like I thought like when you got him, then you'd have a chance to have it thump you in the head. And then just with like when everything was going bad, like I don't know for like our GMs out there where it's like you don't want to bail out your players, but you want it to be fun, you want it to be heroic, you want there to be chances. So I just had Ryan roll a percentage die to see like, is this pistol anywhere near him? He got a 65, so it's like, all right, I'm gonna have him have a chance at it, but it's harder to grab than I would have had it if it was like just kind of hovering around his face, like if he rolled really high. And then, well, what'd you get on your reflex? A nat 1? Yeah, you got a nat 1 on your reflex, which, as you all know, our homebrew rule is if you get the nat 1, then I'll let you roll a percentage die to see just how bad this effect is. And there is a chance if you get really high on the percentage, it's that like task failed successfully thing where you don't necessarily do anything cool. It just like works out in your favor sort of situation. So you rolled that and you got a 3%. So it's just like as bad of a thing that could happen in that moment happens. He just completely loses the pistol. Because maybe if it was sort of bad, he loses it, but he could maybe try and fly over to it in his free fall and grab it again. But this one's just like, no, this is gone. You have no pistol. And at that point, I was like, geez, I don't know what the heck we're going to do at this point. Because I was also trying to feel like, well, what would happen in this situation? What would Desmar do?
Right.
It's like he knows you guys can't fly, like, and also Drakes love eating hippogriffs and stuff. So it's like if I just go kill the hippogriff, then these two are definitely dead. So he goes after Smith. Smith probably couldn't have taken a second bite from him, so Smith gave it all he had. Went to get Jules, got Jules. Yeah, I mean, we're giving you chances with grabbing the ledge. Like you're on his back, he's trying to like throw you off, throws you off again, and then it's just like this inevitable like culmination of at some point you have to get on Smith. So Smith either needs to fly slower so you can get on him and Desmar can catch him, or you have to kill Desmar then get on Smith. But like
I don't know.
You haven't done any damage to Desmar, and it's just like you're in the air, and then it was just like
turns.
Yeah, you're in between them. So it's like, I mean, look, he got Jules. That was your goal. Obviously, you wanted to survive, but like, and I think it's important that if you have a chance as a GM, obviously you don't always have control, but if you have a chance, if a character is going to die, or like it's got to have like meaning and weight behind it, and saving Jules is great. Like if you're gonna lose a character and it's because you saved another character that will transform every other party member. That'll bear a ton of weight. It's like satisfying. It's cool, and even better, like if you can kill Deathsmar while you're at it, why not? You know, like that's pretty epic. And I just think there's a way to do that. You can, you know, just trying to think of something like with your. You have this rare material sword. It's interacting with his breath weapon. We know Ryu has these dormant powers. They come out when he's in like a very desperate situation. We've done that in his origin. So boom, you blow up Deathsmar.
Yeah, and you know, it really does get to a point where you are just sort of like backed into a corner. And like I thought you did play it really, really well. Like you did give opportunities for it to like turn around, like plenty of opportunities. And I thought you played it like exactly how the enemy like should play it. Like you said, like he's gonna go after Smith. That's like what would make the most sense in that situation. And sorry to you guys for how long the like turns were taking on my end.
You gotta take your time on that stuff. That's like if your character's at stake, you gotta. And that's what it came down to. It was like just everything went wrong so many times over and over that we were just backed into this corner of if I try and get back to Smith and Jules at this point, like that's everybody caught in this blast and spells the death of all of us. So it was just like this choice between that or Ryu making the sacrifice in that scenario.
Yeah.
Dude, we were like standing up, getting out of our chairs, hands in our face, pulling hair out. Like this was so stressful. And
it did start off comedic. Like it was literally like just laughable how badly it was going. And then slowly it turned into depression.
It just got really serious really fast.
Yeah.
Dude, what a big episode that was. What a big event.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, like I thought this arc has just started to have so many unexpected turns for me.
Sure.
Like I thought we might be able to wrap this up like within the next couple episodes, a few episodes ago, like when I was kind of charting everything out in my mind. And that's not the case. There's so much going on right now.
And whose fault is that,
dude.
Zach?
Yeah.
We may have like another like 20 episodes.
So hold on, like Adam, what did that feel like from your perspective? Because like I think everyone would think like, oh, Jules is gonna die, and you've just been curious. Like holding on, hoping that he does something to save you, and then it ends up like reversing. Like I didn't think that was gonna happen, to be honest, like at all.
No, it feels absolutely terrible. Just sitting and listening, running through several scenarios in my head, yet I can do absolutely nothing.
And you want to chime in like, this is how you save me. Try this.
Right. And then I have guilt, though, because now Jules is potentially saved at the cost of Ryan's character. So now, like, I have guilt.
Sure, survivors.
I didn't even think about that, actually.
sacrificed his character so that mine could live. And, like...
Now you have to live.
I have all this guilt of... Did I do all the right stuff? And is Adam going out of his mind right now because I can't successfully do what I need to save him? You know what I mean?
No, I was frustrated with your low rolls and just the bad luck that, you're doing this like huge, heroic, kind of insane.
I'm hoping the logic of at least makes sense to other people too, and not just
I think it did, and I think in the end, whatever happens is drastically more entertaining than just the cookie cutter, like what we all guessed you were going to do.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also very curious what your death rolls are.
Yeah. Just to finish, now my mind's like, with the guilt and everything, is like, should you have done the easy peasy thing?
Right.
But what you ended up doing was so awesome. And I just need to lay in bed and lose sleep over it.
I will say real quick too, like, because we mentioned this, I don't know if it'll make it in the episode, but when Ryan was sort of realizing maybe what he needed to do at that point was, like we were saying, all of the campaigns we've ever done, like any session, anything that's ever happened, like it's always survived the dice rolls and what's happened. So even if something sad or unexpected or like just totally derails us happens, like I always think that the story ends up being better for it and just becomes this new beautiful thing that we just, And that's what makes it organic and so fun. That's why personally I don't like overly plan stuff. I plan up to the point that I think we'll get in a session with like ideas of maybe what I want to do next to kind of work towards that. But I'm flexible if something like this happens where it didn't like, oh, this crumbled everything I had, you know, because players need agency. And
you know what I feel like right now is like what I would assume. I haven't had to really do this too much with my kids yet, but like I would assume what it feels like to like tell your child like when a grandparent's died or something. I'm thinking about how I'm gonna have to role play as Jules. Like
that's what I'm curious of too.
I know because Jules doesn't know yet, and so like, I'm like
Yeah.
trying to process my emotions as Adam, and then think like, okay, how am I going to relay that to Jules? You know, have him experience that if and when he comes to.
And how does he
you
even
know?
find out?
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
Ryu's
Yeah.
Nobody can tell him. He
Right,
just,
It'll be-
unless
Ryu
the
just
myth
doesn't
can
show
convey
up.
in
It'll
some
be
way,
crazy
you know?
because if you look at the events, like from a while ago, Jules left to go save Ryu. That's the last time we saw him,
Yeah.
Dax. And he goes on this mission, saves him, goes through all this stuff, gets him out of there, only for him maybe potentially to die. And he may not even like know or see how he died or that Desmar's dead or anything like that. So he could be unconscious to all of it. It's like, what a crazy, like, kind of.
yeah, not to mention explaining that to you guys. Like I did have him. We were on our way back, and
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Also, I don't know. Without any medical help, I would have to be out for like a full day or
yeah,
something.
I mean,
Is
you
that
just
right?
have Smith with you. Like you're not gonna just like.
Does he have medical supplies?
He needs medical help.
But to think too, like what's going on with Dax and Waltz, like what amount of things are they going to be able to do or go through
Right.
in that time when Jules, you know, would wake up on his own and just be like, what day is it? How long have I been out? What's going on?
Right, because Smith, I guess I don't know the intelligence of hippogriffs, but he's not going to be like, oh, I better go take Jules to go meet everybody at...
Go to Karos
Scale
or something to find Toriel. And
He's just going to go find
Get
a
him nailed
nest
up.
and like nurse his wounds and wait for Jules to wake up.
chew
Just
up
gonna
some
be
food and spit it
alone.
in his mouth.
I'm
Yeah.
also a little mad at just the situation, like myself and all of you guys, that I had to maybe kill Smith. That would have been bad, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I'm very glad
I was
he's
so
not,
glad
because
that you said he was still alive after that, because I was literally sitting here like depressed if he was about
Well,
to
you
get
would have been extra
munched
depressed
by-
if he died, because
I would-
he'd be dead, and you know he died, and then he
All
bolted
three of
splat.
us?
listeners would just stop listening.
Yeah.
They'd be like, you know
Oh
what?
my gosh.
I would
don't
rather
wanna-
Waltz die than Smith die.
I think we'd all rather die.
Yeah,
than
all
get
those
Smith.
shriek
Yeah.
sound
Yeah.
effects Taryn adds just brings him to life too much. I know Smith now, you know?
Yeah. I thought you did a good job bringing him to life in that episode too. Like you could definitely feel like how much he's done and how much of a character he's become.
Yeah, man. I could just see on Ryan's face too, like I don't know. Again, I don't know what makes it in the episode, but I'm like describing the scenario, and he's just very quiet and thinking. And then at one point, Joel's like, "Ryan, do you understand like what Zach has just explained?" And Ryan's like, "Yeah." He's just like trying to think like of anything else after like
Right.
10 things that maybe could have helped that didn't work, and just all the roles going poorly. It's like, this is because like at some point, you know, what happens, you know, like if anything cheesy came to like just where you can tell like, they just too scared to kill a character.
Right. You can't just be like, yeah, and then somebody else flies
swoops
in
in
and
And it's
saves
like,
it.
well,
Yeah.
then, like, so you can just botch every roll and everyone's fine. It's like, it's the
Yep.
tails, the dice tell. Is that what Taryn said?
And that's really what
the
it was.
tails, the dice tell, yeah.
Like
what
I
an
said, like-
absolutely anime way to go out to, though.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
throwing his
giant
his
energy.
prized
I
sword
kind of hope
explosion.
his
Yeah.
Ryu versus Jin like song kind of comes out as he throws the sword or whatever Ryan ends up doing. You know Ryan's gonna go hard on
Yep.
it.
They're-
Super
Yeah, that'd be
stoked
good.
to hear
There
Ryan's
have to be
music.
something. Yeah.
Jeez, man. All right. Yeah, other things happened in this episode too, though, because, gosh, it feels weird to even talk about anything else. But before that, I'll be honest, I was having a ton of fun with Dax fighting this little monster.
Dude, so fun.
Oh man.
I think I
Enjoy
know
it.
what it is because you slipped up a little bit once, but I won't say it just in case it gets cut.
What is it? Just say it. It's a
What
downtime.
is?
What the monster is?
Yeah.
You want me to say it? A chupacabra.
They're so creepy looking. I try my
Nice.
best.
You said
Search 2E chupacabra. The picture of it is just like, I was trying to describe that the best I could, so hopefully I did it some justice.
How did you know that,
I think I
Adam?
started,
He said chew. He said chew.
Oh,
And
that
I'm
thing
like,
is
what creature starts with chew? And I
way
heard
uglier than I thought it was.
chupacabra.
Is that
That's
how
funny.
you spell chupacara?
Chupa.
CHUPACABRA.
I think it's Spanish, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
El Chupacabra.
We're looking at the one that's got like a semi-human head, right?
I don't know. It has like a snake
Yeah.
tongue.
It's
And
kinda
it
Not
looks
the
like
one,
Voldemort.
not the one that has a monkey with a gun on top of it. Do you guys see
No.
that one?
Yeah, I do.
Oh yeah.
I'm looking, I'll just throw it in our chat, but it was sucking your blood, dude. Yeah, I thought that was a
I
fun
hate it.
encounter as well, because you're like weighing your ability to fight it versus your objective of getting the Arcanor.
Right.
And I loved your use of tumble through because he's in between you and it. That was super fun.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
that was
the
the
video
perfect
game.
situation for Dax.
The video game part of me wants to just kill it, right? But I have, I think, 9 hit points
no.
left. And so, like, one more hit and I'm dead, effectively, because I'm going to be unconscious in this thing and it's just going to eat me or something, you know? But I don't know, man. I just got to book it out of there. But you're right. I don't know where the door is.
I
So,
was so glad.
best case scenario, I heal up when I'm
I
hidden.
was so glad you used the Arcanor beam because I was actually planning on having the monster use it in some way, like maybe try and throw you through
Oh, really?
it or something like that.
wow.
Because I just thought like
Heck yeah.
visually that just sounds so cool, like incorporating the
So
environment.
cool.
We know it does damage. So I was really like happy that you thought of that on your own because it just seems like something Dax would do.
Mhm.
And how it like kind of bought you a little window, just visually, like cinematically, it's so cool to picture. Like,
Right.
all right, now here's my chance to get out of here.
I thought for sure that was going to be the sketch for this week, but obviously Ryan has stolen that thunder.
Yeah, Joel's probably
That's
like, I
what we
haven't
call
had a
one-upping.
Dax solo sketch in a while other than killing Clag. So he's like, this will be my cool one. And then Maria's got to go blow himself up, killing a freaking Drake.
Right. Man, can't have anything nice.
It's like Vegeta's final attunement episode.
Oh, right. Maybe I should have given the Vegeta speech. Should I have knocked out my son before
Yeah.
too?
Karate chop him.
uh-huh.
Yeah, maybe he'll go to Otherworld with Kakarot, you know? Man,
Yeah, can I just come back with a halo around my head?
Yeah.
I thought we might get to Walt's talking to Geldir this episode. I'm pretty excited about that.
I'm excited
But
as well.
I knew we
I
had
don't
to
know
get to
what you're
yeah, I knew we had to
thinking,
get to
but-
Jules and Rio because that'd be not be satisfying to like not get that concluded. So he sort of cut that as like him when he starts to go talk to him because that's gonna be a fun conversation. But yeah, this one was just action packed, man. Like,
Oh yeah.
because like the Dax one just felt so high stake, where it was like I even asked you guys like, hey, do you guys think I should cut to Waltz now or Jules and Rio? Because it just felt like too much like stress to just roll straight from Dax into that. Where it's like, let's give a little breather, let's let Waltz soak in his stuff, and then figure out what he's gonna do next, and then we'll be like, and this character's dying. So
Yeah, I honestly didn't know if Dax was going to make it out of that too, just based on like
still
the
don't.
damage that the Chupacabra did and all that kind of stuff. Like I thought like that could have been a scenario where Dax would end up down or something.
We're all pretty banged up right now. I mean, I'm going to hopefully heal myself when I'm hidden and then, one time with battle medicine and then hope I don't get hit again.
Yeah, dude, I'm like tired as Terran from Waltz, like I just
Right.
want him to be able to relax for a few
Dude,
days,
okay. Here's
I want all this
gen-
to be over so he can just
Right.
like chill for a while.
Right. Like, how many times have we long rested in this whole campaign? Once?
I don't think, I don't know.
about
Maybe
3 or
once.
4
I
times.
I think
I think
once
once.
when...
You did it in Karos.
No
And then
way.
you did it
No way.
when Sindor showed up that one time. You were like,
That's not 3 or 4. That's
no,
two.
and then you did
That's
it.
two.
And then you did it once in Pagos for sure, because you did it when Jules needed to get in the hot
when
tub.
Adam had the hot tub.
I thought it was Karos and Pagos were the only
yeah.
two.
Or was the hot tub a
No,
short?
there's
I
no
guess
short.
maybe that's not
it
a
was
thing
when you
in this
guys
game.
realized you were too beat up to even consider fighting Forgost, and you just
Right,
Oh,
we
yeah, okay,
waited.
so there has been 3.
I was curious how long it had been since we'd all been together, We got separated from Ryu in episode 12.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my
We
gosh.
spent as much time
And
apart
then
as you did together.
Episode 17
Seriously.
is where Walt's, Dax, and Jules went their separate ways.
Jeez.
That's crazy.
I hope me and Dax meet back up before Jules, if he gets back to us, gets back
I mean,
to us.
He almost has to.
I imagine
there's
that'll
almost
be the
no way
case.
that
Yeah.
timeline would work out.
I mean, at this point, you're
in
literally
any
all
other way.
separate.
Right?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, listeners, you get a good deal. You get 4 campaigns for the price of one.
Oh yeah, so it's starting to burn
And
me out
actually-
with all these twists and turns where I'm like, because it took me a while
Yeah, right.
even just to figure out how to handle like this, like what was going to be in this episode, and now I'm like, well, now what do I do? Like,
Right, starting from scratch.
And I don't mean to bring it back to the Ryu stuff, but one thing I did just think of is Sindor wants Ryu alive.
Oh,
Yeah, I was thinking of that too. Like, I didn't know
There
if
it
you were
is.
gonna just jump on Despar and try and like give yourself up and be like, I have my sword now. Like, let's go do whatever.
Yeah, and I wasn't even thinking about that aspect during the episode.
All right, let's do it again.
Yeah.
Run it
well,
back.
I'm the GM, and I
But,
was aware of that, so the world knew that Sindor.
Well,
knows
I'm good.
that.
I'm glad at least someone was thinking about it then.
But I mean, then
Yeah, I'm curious to. Well, I wonder what Sindor feels right now as his last Drake just exploded. And
He's still got the one that he's on.
yeah, but
too.
he's never necessarily
Fair.
said if he's linked to that one or not. It's just a Drake that he has potentially.
Oh,
Might just be
okay.
a righty boy.
And we are gunless.
Yeah, but you just freaking blew up your sword and killed his Drake, and you didn't listen to him and stay put. Now you're freaking exploded.
Yeah, but what's his ultimate goal, right? Does he care about this Drake, or does he care about toppling the Fangdom?
Well,
Zach?
he may have had time to get in your vicinity or know what's going on, but he was also very,
Hell bent on getting to.
yeah.
Yeah, that's all stuff that we gotta figure out, I
We-
guess.
so Zach,
You're dead.
You don't. We
Jules
do.
is
Jules.
unconscious, you're dead. Dax is very busy.
I use the royal we or whatever it is, just so that Zach doesn't feel like he's
Yeah, thanks, bro.
alone
Sure.
and figuring out what happens next.
See you next week,
I was
Zach.
going
Let's
back
figure
to
this
like
out.
thinking that Ryan was like the secret GM of this whole thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
guys, we were that's
Yeah,
another thing.
I-
We were gonna do 2 episodes tonight, but it's just like not something I'm prepared to just start the next session with this completely unexpected outcome. I'm
Plus,
optimistic,
this
you know.
one
It's
just took
like
way too long with all the.
yeah,
thinking
you
and
guys
stuff.
have taught me like just even when we played in D&D, where I was like, they'll find a way, they'll get out of it. So I'm like, I don't know what's gonna happen. But I feel like Ryu and Jules are going to be flying on the back of Smith at the end of the session, and we'll do what happens after that. And then that didn't happen, so I'm like, well, I'm not ready for that session then. So, just give me a second now. Yeah, the next episode will just follow Jules unconscious for the entire. It'll just be dead air for an hour.
There's wind
it's
noises.
just some random Smith.
That would buy us
noises,
some
just-
time because our buffer's kind of gone, so we can just sort of record an hour of dead air and upload it as the Jules
great idea.
episode and troll everyone.
It's just an ASMR like chill. Ryan, you can do some lo-fi.
Yeah, that'll give me something to do.
Yeah, Zach, it's fun seeing you stressed out about these things because you put us in stressful situations a lot. So it feels like the tables have like turned, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you created this.
Because it's like
You
you will still
murderer.
lead us to new parts of the story with the dilemmas that you put us in, but now like we're leading you to a new part of the story. You have
You
to
know,
make decisions
yeah,
on like
kinda.
how it's going to go now. So
we
it's
just
kind of
are
cool.
making him also
It's
come
so
up with it.
weird though.
we have
like
the power.
this game, that we're playing, where it's like the fact that I'm stressed is fun to me. You know what I mean? It's interesting.
Like
Yeah.
my heart rate was up this whole episode, and I don't get that playing Monopoly.
I don't even play Monopoly.
I had
You don't? I do.
I had this like roller coaster of enjoying the stress during the episode,
Yeah, I bet.
and then just total hopeless like hating it.
I wonder why. Watching Ryan just stare at just like trying to figure out, like, I guess that's what I gotta do now.
I couldn't tell with the camera quality, but I was like, is Ryan going to tear up in this? Because I certainly have when my characters have died. in
No,
other
honestly, I
campaigns.
did tear up. I didn't
was
full
like,
on.
man.
I didn't full on cry, but when I was realizing what it was coming to, I was like, "How I can't believe this is happening."
It's
Right.
a bummer because I know
Yeah.
Ryan loves Ryu. Like,
Yeah, Yeah. Well, gee, what white-haired...
Yeah, what anime character are you going to make next?
Japanese anime character can I make next, yeah.
The same exact one, just a slightly different haircut.
Yeah, Piyu.
Rui.
Yeah, you're playing Benjamin, so
I'll be Benjamin.
we'll just randomly cut to
Dude,
Ryan.
Honk is coming out.
That's your punishment for
Honk
dying.
makes the return.
All right, guys.
Yeah, you guys have a lot to talk about off air as far as like I just want to like be a fly on the wall in Zach and Ryan's text thread for the next week.
It's going to be him being like, bro, what
Just
the
include
heck?
us. We won't say anything.
And I'll be like, bro, what the heck?
Yeah, no, it's I stand by what I said in this downtime, and that's like you played it exactly right, I feel like, and it's just things went as bad as they possibly could. So
That's life.
such is life.
It's what's it's, you know?
So yeah, let's just I guess while we're talking, because this has been fun, and while we've been talking about Ryu and his sacrifice, we've obviously been playing together for a long time. We played a lot of D&D specifically, and I think we've had a few character deaths in our past campaign, and I think I've had a character death and a campaign Taryn was running, things like that. So I don't know. You guys just want to talk about that? Like,
Yeah, I like that idea.
I think, let's see. Okay, yeah, we'll start with Brian. Brian, your character died in our campaign as well. You know, talk about kind of like who your character was and what led to his death.
Yeah, Leon. I think we talked about him in another
Patreon metacast.
either downtime or like a metacast or
I
something.
don't think
Yeah,
they
Patreon
knew he
metacast.
died, though. I don't think we got that far. Because we have a metacast on Patreon where we talk to the events of one of our old campaigns, and we got about like a quarter of the way through that campaign. So maybe in future metacasts we'll talk about that.
Oh, I definitely remember talking about it at one point on something on Patreon. But yeah, yeah. Should I just talk about that moment or?
Yeah, maybe just like real quick, like who the character was and what he was like.
Sure. Yeah, I had a character named Leon Neorthario, who, just brief synopsis of him. Before this, he was like a prince of a kingdom, but was essentially betrayed. His original name being Orion Lionheart. He was betrayed by his brother, basically left for death, but he was brought to life by like the god of this world called the Watcher, or some guy that used the power of the Watcher to bring him back. And then he changed his name to Leon Neorthario and basically pledged himself to the Watcher at that point. And then ended up, meeting up with the party and all this kind of stuff. Time goes on, and we just ended up this big battle where we were fighting against the Blight in a forest, and it was like the final battle there, essentially, with what we were trying to do. And we had a mechanic that we used at the time where if you went down, you had to roll like a D20 or something like that.
It was a lingering
a
injuries. Yeah, it was like a variant roll in the Dungeon Master's Guide.
Yep.
I think it was like if you've been downed before or something like that. Because essentially our old party composition had like 5 characters and all of them could heal except one. And the one that couldn't heal was a barbarian. So it was just like like it just was comical how many times you guys would go down and get back up. So we wanted to add a little bit more edge to it, because obviously in D&D, when you're revived, you get 1 hit point. So it's just like, I'm down, I'm up, I'm down, I'm up, I'm down, I'm up, sort of stuff.
Right, right.
I've just like dropped the kitchen sink on you guys, and you would just survive everything. So we just wanted to add a little more grittiness to it, I would say.
Yeah, and so it was like every time you went down, I think the potential for you to have to roll on that chart increased each time. And so I went down like twice during that fight, and with both of them, I ended up rolling to like lose an arm, and then I think the second one I like lost a leg. And so like we got towards the end of the battle, and
Merely a flesh wound.
right. And I remember what was your character's name, Joel?
Toby.
Yeah, Toby.
To be clear, it was Tobias Sheppeneckel Stumbleduck is what it
Right,
was.
that guy like had ran over like after the fight to come heal me. And it was kind of one of those situations where like it just made more sense to have Leon go down at that point, I think, like for how long he had been down there and likely bleeding out from literally losing limbs and all this kind of stuff.
Which I really respected, by the way.
To where
like,
we just...
You're just like, no person survives this, or like, you're just like, I think I'm finished, guys.
Right. So yeah, then I died.
And then I died. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. He did die, and I think there was at one point where like one of Adam's characters, like later down the road, ended up like revisiting that spot. I don't know if you guys ever knew about that, but like the way his character rejoined, I wrote up like a synopsis for him, and his druid character, well, he became a druid, Jarls, when he transformed from a ranger to druid. He stopped at the place you died and conjured a spell on your ashes to like grow a plant. So kind of cool. Yeah, in remembrance of it.
Nice.
I think I do remember hearing about that.
Was the ranger to druid thing, was that a multi-class thing, or did you just change your mind?
No, I had honestly decided that, and I guess I could talk about that
a little bit,
too.
Jarls.
Was a ranger, again, another troubled past, went through some stuff and battled a lot of like inner demons, and he found the archdruid who kind of pulled him out of that darkness and helped him turn his life around. And then he met the group, and then he ended up dying.
Oh, that's right.
Toby was able to bring him back with some kind of spell.
Revivify, probably, if I
Revivify. But in kind of the same sense that Ryan felt Leon, it was this, it just made more sense for him to go. I told Zach that I just didn't like that. It's just like, here's a spell, you're back alive, everything's good. And so I had this idea of maybe his spirit or his soul was kind of detached from his body, and so there was something wrong going on there. And if I remember right, just as time went on, it became further and further detached. And then Zach, you can kind of help me out here.
Yeah, he was.
I don't remember specifics.
Yeah, essentially your soul was like disaligned. I don't know if I remember all the exact details, but part of that mission in which you realize that, in the same mission that Ryan's character Leon died, you were trying to find the Archdruid in the heart of the forest, and basically the blight, like all these sentient evil trees and stuff that were spreading, captured Nyla, the Archdruid, and put her in the heart of the forest at this like massive tree called the Genesis tree, and like essentially linked up to her mind, like with these like magical roots, and we're drawing from her like knowledge and power of the forest to make them more powerful. So you like entered her mind, like you went to the astral plane. You guys like went into her mind and went through her memories, and that's why you're also so important, because he knew her so well. And you fought through some of your memories.
That was sweet.
And you destroyed like the nexus of her conscious, like where it was latched on. That was the only way you could defeat him. Anyway, so she, in that time when you freed her, which by the way, I hinged the entire campaign on one roll at that point. You guys were all inside the mind, and everyone.
That's right.
Everyone had died, I think, in the memory or something, and it was like the only way to get their soul out of the astral plane back to their body outside is to like defeat it here. I can't remember the exact specifics, but basically you had to hit with an arrow shot. You had one shot to hit the nexus of the hive mind, and you had advantage or something, but it was like, I had set it up where like if you miss, it explodes and like you all die or something like that. It was your one shot, and it was just one of those like, it was like the ballsiest I think I'd ever been. Like, 'cause every character would have died if you missed the shot. But for some reason, I was just like, he'll get it. And you did.
That was like, high blood pressure, heart rate going scenario, edge of your seat where we're like, this better not go wrong.
All I have to say, Nyla learned how the astral plane worked, and it was kind of like the Dragon Ball Z hyperbolic time chamber where time like moves slower. So because your soul was misaligned, she took you into her own memory, into the astral plane, to train you how to become a druid. So in campaign, like only like a few days or a month or something had passed, but from y'all's perspective, he had been training to be a druid for years, and from the best, by going through all the trials she went through in her own memory and becoming as skilled as her, because in her absence you had to be the archdruid. And that was like how you realigned your soul and became at peace, because you were meant to be a druid or something like that. And then we had your all show up in a very cool way as an eagle when you guys were on that mountain that was exploding from the gigantic zombie that was punching down the mountain,
so
and he swooped in and got you and flew off. Oh man.
But yeah, so that was kind of I was kind of ready to be done with that character. Not like I was tired of him, but just like I felt like that was a good transition for him. But also in doing that transition, it made him a heck of a lot more powerful than where the rest of the group was at. so it wouldn't have made sense or been fair for me to be able to do that. So
he essentially became like a pseudo NPC, yeah, where you got to take control of him when he showed up and roleplay him and stuff.
Yeah, you gave me that opportunity to show up one time as this like really powerful, badass character, and
that's super fun.
Do some cool stuff. So
that was super fun. Yeah, so that was kind of like a pseudo death where he like kind of like left the campaign, but still existed. So there's that, and then let's see, another death. So this would be Adam's character, the next character he made. Yeah. If you want to talk a little bit about him. So basically in this campaign world, there was a lot going on, but I think what's relevant to this is we drew a lot of inspiration from Game of Thrones. This whole campaign world is a mashup of like all of our favorite things, like Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, Godzilla is basically in there, Dragon Ball Z, MCU, like there was like Dragon Ball
John
type
Wick.
stuff, Soul, Infinity Gauntlet type stuff. Anyway, they had to go north beyond the wall, kind of like in Game of Thrones, and there was like a zombie horde up there that was really close to Terrence's character, so they had to go beyond this wall. So yeah, if you want to talk a little bit about
so my character's name was Aaron, and he was a gunslinger half-elf, and he had a magic wand missile, a wand of magic missile attached to a pistol grip, so it acted as a gun. So essentially just a wand of magic missile, but I just reflavored it like that. And I forget kind of how we all got separated, but at that point it was Toby, Joel's character, and my character, trudging.
Yeah, it was like on your back, and you were trudging through the
snow.
snow.
So basically, Taryn had a character named Paul Nikes who was this barbarian, and this guy, of all the deaths, this guy will not die. This guy literally rode a purple worm off a cliff and just like would not die. Anyway, he was eager to go beyond the wall and like help this because he was from there, and he was starting to feel guilty from everyone like dying and being in harm's way because of his mission. So while Aaron and Toby and like everyone was resting, he just took off, and he was trying to find his wife and stuff like that. Oh man, this is dark.
And what happened to her?
Yeah, she died.
Zach.
Okay, to be fair, at the time we were really into like these dark characters like Logan and Punisher and Taryn. He's like, I'm not saying kill my wife, but I give you permission if like that would help with the character. So basically he had heard that his wife went out as a scouting party to try and like take care of this horde or like find out some information. And then he ended up, he's out there all by himself. I think you survived a kaiju attack because there was that flying pterodactyl zombie that like caused an avalanche that you barely escaped. Man, dude. Oh man, D&D is so fun. Love playing it. Anyway, yeah. So you figured out where your wife was. You tracked her, and then figured out she was in a Yeti's den. And you went in. You just without even thinking. You ran in there. Weren't thinking straight. Was Nero with you at this time?
Was because I remember the avalanche part.
Yeah. Somehow Ryan's character got with you because he was from somewhere. He had something completely different going on. But anyway. Yeah, so you just run in there because you see your wife frozen and you don't even think of what's around you. And then you guys each get wiped out by this Yeti and frozen, and they like keep you alive and you like freeze. So you're like on this ticking clock scenario. And Joel had a character who was a cleric and really in tune with this deity, and basically the deity gave him a vision that they're in trouble and they're going to die. And Toby is a short little gnome and tells that to Aaron. Aaron picks him up, puts him on his back, and he just takes off sprinting to this place through all these elements, through the cold, through all this. And I'm having him roll all these like weather checks. He's exhausted. The cold is killing him.
I was failing those too.
Yeah,
I don't think I succeeded any of them. So I was just taking all this damage while we were running.
So visually, we were just like, Aaron just won't quit. He's just like freezing. He's like, just the elements are killing him. And after all that, he gets to the base of the entrance to this Yeti's den, and he's already basically dead just getting there, and he knows who's in there. And we also knew that Toby was the only one who could revive Terrence's character and Ryan's character in there. So it was too risky for both of them to go in. So then Aaron just said, I got this, And he went in there to battle Yeti, dude. And I think you ended up killing him. Like, it was one of those things where...
pretty epic.
Yeah, it was one of those things where it's like, I don't think there's any way you're gonna win. Like Adam decided to go in there, and then like that's where we ended our session. And I'm like, look, dude, I don't think you can win like this. Like we were just thinking about it, and it was just one of those things where it's like, all right, just give it your best. And we basically did it where like this Yeti kills him, and as Aaron's bleeding out, he takes out his pistol that has the wand of magic missile, and he fires it at like an icicle in the ceiling. I
think it was a shield or something. It was like something.
It was just some big like spike. I can't remember what it was. And it dropped down and it killed the Yeti as he bled out. Like we described it super gruesome. Like your guy had like, he always had a flask. We even said like, was it something like,
that was yours.
Yeah, you like took a drink and it came out of an open
Aaron's vice was smoking.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I think he lit up a cigarette as he died or something. But like we said like your legs are across the room and you're just bleeding out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Did you did you have a plan going into that, Adam, of like, this is what I want to do for best case scenario of fighting this thing?
If I remember right, Zach and I had texted each other basically like he said, where he's like, hey, if you do this, just know you're gonna die. And I don't think we like.
Yeah, so
I think if I remember what happened is like you gave me some possible outcomes of like what we could maybe kind of do, but it was like completely up to the rolls. And so it wasn't like pre-planned per se, but it was just like, here's the situation, and there are a few things, if you do them right, could turn out well, but it's going to be hard, and you have to like do the rolls right.
And we all know how that turns out.
Yeah, just like
exactly.
GM
it was
advice.
very much this. Yeah, it was very much like Ryu.
Yeah, if you're a GM and you have players that like really cherish their characters and take the game seriously, like this wouldn't work if like they're just like whatever, like Leroy Jenkins all the time. They could care less, roll new character, murder hobos. Doesn't really work. But like with them, like I know they love their characters, so it's like if you're willing to have your character die to make sure X character lives, then I think we can do something cool and cinematic to make sure like if you're just telling me straight up like, hey, like for you, like, hey, if I just make sure Desmar, if I kill my characters so that Desmar can't kill Jules, it's like, yeah, man, for sure.
Yeah,
because Ryu's a badass.
It was basically a gentleman's agreement between player and DM, where it's like, hey, I'm willing to sacrifice my character if you make sure like we work or attempt to work that he goes out in an awesome way.
I didn't even expect Zach to like have Desmar end up getting killed in that situation too. Like I was just like,
I didn't either.
As long as I can get Jules and Smith out of there, I'll at least get in Desmar's way right now,
Right.
Ryu's too cool to not freaking take out Desmar right at the end, dude.
Right.
There's some
like
new
every campaign.
I know there are some tabletop RPGs. I think even like the one that Matt Mercer's working on or whatever, like they call it like a blaze of glory, where if your character is about to die or it dies, you get like one final act or something that has like huge bonus on the roll, which is funny because that's essentially like what we do like as a homebrew of like, all right, if you're doing this, you're doing this. You know what I mean? There's nothing worse than like if your character just died and you're just like, I don't feel great about like I don't feel like I accomplished something. So it's just like it's more just that. Like I'm just looking at Ryan and he's like, I love Ryu, and it's like we all love Ryu, bro. If Ryu's gonna die, then it's gonna count, But anyway, so that I think Aaron, like that might have been one of my favorite. That may have been my favorite death, just because it was like our first super epic one. Because the Leon one was like, I think Ryan was just sort of done with that character, and it just kind of made sense. And
right.
But this one was like Adam's like, dang, I guess the only way to save him is for me to die. And just the cinematic of you running all night to get there. And and Joel role played it so well because Toby was this like kind of nervous kind.
Oh man, I remember the emotion that went with that. Like
it was like Digsby level. Like I don't know. I was sure misty-eyed. I remember that distinctly.
Yeah.
I think
you were role playing and being just like, because I kept cutting back to you to tell you like what you're hearing outside the cave. I remember. So it's like you hear gunshots and you hear roars and you hear commotion and like, but it was just agreed that you wouldn't go in there. So you just had to like listen to
Aaron like made me promise that I wouldn't go in if I remember right. Like,
yeah.
Woof.
One final note that I just remembered too with that, because Aaron came back, he was brought back by some higher power for like one mission. Because when you asked me if I was down with Aaron dying, I said, yeah, really, there's only one tiny aspect to his story that I'd like to be wrapped up, which dealt with his father and kind of having closure there, which didn't really pertain to the overarching story or anything. So you did allow him to come back for like one final mission.
Yeah, we had a
which was a ton of fun.
ambiguous entity or like deity called like the Watcher, who's basically his whole thing was like he can observe the universe and empower other people to do things, but can't like directly interfere with it. So essentially, like Aaron was needed for something to happen in like the Watcher's desired outcome. So he granted permission or like the ability to the most powerful cleric in our world to bring Aaron back for one night to finish like a critical mission, which was pretty cool. Because then you got to see the group one last time, and then you like faded into nothing, and that was it. It was gone. But yeah, like the city you were from was being overthrown, and your dad was like in jeopardy because he was like the prime minister or something. So you like rescued him. You basically did some Batman stuff because they remember they gave you the cloak of the bat, and you were like flying
it was
around.
Like Batman and John Wick. It was tons of fun.
Yeah, you even got to go get a prototype pistol because canonically they burned your pistol with your body. Like it was they said it was as part of you as you were. So you needed a new pistol, but the guy who made your first one said he was working on a new one. So you visited him, or no, you went to his shop and like took it, and you had an even cooler pistol for your one last mission and stuff. Super
so cool.
Dope. Thank you, Zach.
Yeah, bro.
Nice trip down memory lane.
Another character Desi had is like our friend Jay. It's like obviously not in our podcast, but he had like one where we had this guy, my all-time favorite name I've ever come up with for anyone, and probably just like one of my favorite characters. His name was Vento Slem. And he was just this like very mysterious, powerful, magical guy that they just kept encountering throughout the campaign, and he was just always like down with like what was going on, knew everything was chill. Just no one knew what he was up to, what his motives were. He kept like helping them, but then backstabbing them, and then all this and that. And,
sounds familiar.
Yeah. Essentially, he was trying to get these one items, but needed. Man, it's so convoluted. But basically, he got one of the characters cursed, and then said he could like lift the curse. Man, I almost can't even remember. But essentially, after everything he'd done to make him not trustworthy, Jay trusted this guy and went with him to face this powerful enemy. Because basically our friend Jay, his character had this other powerful character's like spirit trapped within him that was giving him like guidance and counsel on how to do these things, and they needed to like free that spirit. So this Vento Slem guy was going to go hand over Jay's character to this evil person so they could have this guy's spirit. But he promised Jay, he's like, I promise I won't let them take the spirit. Don't worry. And he's like, okay. Because Jay thought he was helping him pull a fast one on this evil lady. But instead, at the very last moment, the Vento Slem got what he needed from the lady in the trade, pushed Jay out to her. And then I gave Jay a moment. I was like, do you go forward or what do you do? Do you trust him? He's like, no, I trust Vento Slem's going to do something. And he like walks towards the lady. And then what Vento Slem does to make sure she doesn't get the spirit is just kill Jay to like release the spirit. So he flies and gets out of there. So he's like, I was technically correct, but I didn't do that. And essentially, like Jay's main way out of that was when the guy approached him the first time, he should have been like, bro, I don't trust anything about you. So it was a very like slow burn. Like it was more of a different type of death where it was like decision based.
Sure.
And that character was actually a lich, and he had a bunch of he had a curse on him and all these like conditions he had to uphold. And one of the conditions was he could never lie. So everything he ever told you guys was technically true. It just always had like a little bit of shade to it where it was like, I promise I won't let her get the spirit. And Jay's like, oh, great. He's like, because I'm going to kill you. I just didn't tell you that part.
Yeah, it just goes to show you're too smart for us, Zach.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's almost like I got way more time to think about it than you guys do. But
yeah, it's almost like you know what's going to happen before it happens. It's not really fair.
Yeah, except when I'm these sessions that I'm playing with you guys now, everyone's freaking dying and doing all kinds of crazy stuff.
Can I ask about an almost character death moment that I'm curious about because I don't totally remember it? So we brought up, now I'm just going to keep saying Walt's, Polynikes, Terran's character before,
yeah.
And how I feel like there were so many times where it almost seemed like he was literally trying to get Polynikes to die, like all the crap that he ended up going through. but like still ended up surviving at the end of it. But there was one moment we were like in this like underground cave thing, and that's where Farzad died. But we had to like get through this doorway because we were like fighting this giant thing, and it was like murdering all of us. And so we get through the doorway, but Polynikes stays behind to like hold him off so that we can get away. And I remember like the doors literally like closing, but then there was something that happened where Adam's character, we were just talking about him.
I think
Aaron?
he killed it, or no,
Not Jules.
yeah, like so you had an NPC with you named Kaitos, and he was saying we got to close the
yeah,
doors,
it was my
screw this
dude.
guy, because he was like this kind of gray type character, and he's like, no, screw this guy, close the door. So he started closing the door.
I thought Polynikes was like, no, go.
Yeah, he did, and then Kaitos was
okay.
like, hey, good enough for me. And then Adam's character, Jarls, was like, no. So you kind of like wrestled with Kaitos a bit and then kicked the doors open and managed to get out there just in time to save Paul Nikes. And that was just, yeah.
Because I remember it being like, I was closing the doors, and I remember like describing my character like teary-eyed and these doors were like closing. But then you and Adam had some kind of like text conversation quick that made Adam go out there and...
Yeah, I guess I don't remember what the conversation would have been.
Oh, man, that's what I don't know either. And that's what I wanted to figure out.
Here, let me scroll back.
Yeah, like
That was
6
pre-COVID, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember what it was, but yeah,
1 second, guys.
I think it ended up being like this thing where you kicked the door open because it was like risky because you
Vaguely
guys needed to
remember that.
succeed on your mission, and then like he was making sure you survived. Yeah, and then like another thing, I like how we're a bunch of talking about Paul Nikes and Terrence just like listening because it's his character. But I will say, like, just to tell you how much this character would not die and how Terran wouldn't stop doing things to try and kill this character. So I mentioned he rode a purple worm off a cliff. So what happened there was like, I don't even remember why I don't know how you ended up on a purple worm, but
Yeah, I don't either.
yeah. So you rode this purple worm off the cliff with daggers in its back, while everyone else escaped, and then it fell into this like canyon forever and ever and ever and hit the ground. And I was like, all right, you're at 0 hit points, nobody's around, like literally none of the other characters were anywhere near Paul Nikes now. And then so I was like, all right, roll your death saves. And he's like got his camera because we're playing remotely and he's pointing at it. He's rolling them like I'm watching the rolls, and he succeeds. And then I remember you were like, this just doesn't feel like something I should survive. Can I just roll another set of death saves? And you rolled a second set, even though you already succeeded, you rolled again, and you succeeded again. And I'm like, this guy won't die, dude.
Yeah, I got to play him so recklessly because he just kept living.
Yeah, you did. Taryn, tell the truth. Was there ever a part of you that's like, I'm trying to get this character killed because I want to do something else?
I was going to say something. Oh, one thing I want to say before I completely forget about it, or completely forget about it, sorry, is I thought that it was really cool that when I was making that character, you asked me to make characters that Polynikes would know, people from his like old tribe essentially and everything.
Oh, yeah.
So I would like make these backstories, and it was a lot of fun for me. And then I made like this one backstory with a giant that was in, our homeland that was like incredibly like huge. And I tried to make it almost like a kind of like a cosmic horror where something is like so vast that it's like there's no way you could stand a chance against that. And the Night King or Frost King or whatever it was can like turn anything on its side, just like in Game of Thrones. And when I created that character, I had like no intention in my mind of like what could possibly happen, or no recollection of like what could possibly happen with that. And then it was like fun talking to Zach later, like, oh yeah, like you would have had to like, or we saw that thing in the campaign, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you saw the
like,
undead
it's like
version of
this-
it. He punched the mountain down that you were in. You guys had to protect. You like basically met a god of sorts, and they were trying to forge a weapon for you that you could use to kill the Frost King, but it was going to take them time. But she said, as soon as I start doing this, he'll know I'm here because he'll sense my energy. So she started making it, and then you guys are just standing at the peak of this mountain while she's making it, and you look off on the horizon and see this undead giant that's like cosmic horror, like as big as a mountain coming towards you.
Yeah,
but he had a bunch of zombies like riding on his shoulders, because the first thing he did is he got to the mountain and extended his arms, and then all the zombies ran down his arms, and then you were just fighting horde after horde while he started
So
punching the mountain. And then as the mountain started coming down, you grab the weapon, you look over, and that's when Jarls, as a druid for the first time, shows up as an eagle and says, you guys need a ride? And then you got out of there. Because he had this whole, I like typed him up like a 2-page explanation of how he got there. because he was there to go awaken Rogera, the dragon turtle, which was like Godzilla in this world. Because then you guys flew off the mountain, were pursued by the Frost King, who was riding on a giant kaiju, and then he led you back to Nyla, who had just awoken Godzilla, who emerged out of the ice and incinerated the thing that was pursuing you.
Oh my god!
So you guys got to meet
what a
Godzilla.
crazy!
Oh yeah,
God, so cool.
What a crazy series of events.
We should switch back to that one.
Yeah, dude. Now I'm getting all pumped about that campaign. Dude.
Yeah, initially you're like, oh, like, damn. So I just got away from that thing, which is cool. But eventually I have to deal with that thing.
Yeah, we
which
never
is
finished
not
this
cool.
campaign. Yeah, because that was a big thing. You got Rogera, like the Godzilla on your side, and you were gonna
Yeah,
try
that
and
was,
take him to go. He was like the only thing that could maybe defeat that
yeah.
wild campaign, dude. Just so
Yeah.
you know, all this type of stuff exists in the campaign world we're in now too. So kaiju and things
cool.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wait, what is kaiju?
kaiju is like Godzilla, like giant monsters.
Giant
Mothra
monsters.
and all the big monsters from.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Barney.
Jules' home planet has that. Like it's a big island aquatic planet. Has all sorts of kaiju on it.
So yeah, Taryn, do you feel like you were ever trying to kill Polynikes?
Oh, yeah. He was definitely super reckless at a point where I was like, I think was more like my inspiration from like Wolverine or Logan and the Punisher was like how reckless they were. They were just like, I just don't care.
Oh.
So you just kind of like roll the dice, kind of like Brett Favre, you know? He just takes crazy gambles. He's like, I'm just going to chuck this thing. Let's see what happens.
Just
Sometimes
like
it's an
Brett Favre.
interception. Sometimes it's a touchdown, you know?
Just gonna chuck this thing and see what happens.
Because yeah,
And that's kinda-
the like level
that's
of
kinda how I played him.
absurdity that you would end up doing with Polynikes sometimes. I was like, oh, is he literally trying to make sure Polynikes dies? And then he would make it out of it.
It always worked out,
Yeah,
you know?
it did.
Maybe that past life carries into like Waltz's life, but he takes it in a positive way. Like, hey,
Right.
things usually just kind of work out.
Right.
man.
Yeah, the charismatic, talky version of Polynikes, I guess, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, man. Also, that purple worm. I remember, like, you rode it into the cliff, and then you somehow encountered the Night King, Frost King, whatever, and then he brought the
Yeah.
purple worm back to life, like right in front of you, and you had to like run from it, and all sorts of crazy stuff.
Didn't you
Yeah.
die there? Or well, not
His-
die, but
his
like, didn't
mentor
you go
died.
down? Oh,
Yeah, my mentor was cool,
Because
dude.
yeah, you were basically on a bridge where you would have had to have fought him, and like Polynikes was going to try and fight him, and then the rest of you were like, no, let's get out
that's
of here.
right.
And then his mentor's like, yeah, get out of here, and then he like stabbed like a dagger or a sword into him, and then pushed him off the bridge, like which you knew wouldn't have killed the Frost King guy, but would have killed his
Man.
mentor.
Yeah, you don't realize how many
Gosh.
people actually die in these.
Farzad.
Yeah, but you have to have deaths in order for other things to be heroic.
Yeah,
you
for
know?
sure.
absolutely.
Otherwise, if everybody just lives, it's just like, I don't know if that's dark of me to say, but if everybody just lives, like nothing really.
There's no stakes ever,
matters.
man.
It
Yeah.
would like
Yeah.
Ryu's thing wouldn't have been heroic if he knew he was gonna live.
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you can't tell, about halfway through this recording, we decided, you know what, this is let's just keep talking and let's make this a bonus episode. So, yeah, that's kind of the sort of stuff we talk about on our Patreon. If you ever want to check that out, and if you are a patron, hey, thanks.
Sometimes
you.
they're a
Yeah,
little
thank
more
you.
upbeat,
Y'all are awesome. What's
yeah,
up,
normally
guys?
it's not all about all
Guys.
the deaths and stuff.
but
like
we
that,
don't
but-
really have a player character die every episode. So
It seems like every 25 episodes. This was episode 25, right?
Think so. Yes,
Every 25 episodes, character death. So stay tuned.
and that's Immortals and Portals guarantee.
yeah.
yeah. Who's it going to be next time?
Everybody's
All
in
right,
danger.
well, thank you for joining us on this downtime / bonus episode, and we'll see you next time, Immortals.
Immortals and mortals.